Just a couple days ago, NIO CEO said that they are going to increase prices, increase the average selling price of NIO vehicles. What? What's going on with that? Everybody's doing price cuts. Why is NIO heading the other way? Well, this is very, very interesting because the sub-brand is coming out, and with the sub-brand, NIO doesn't really want a lot of price overlap with the NIO main brand. So what NIO is going to do, and this is actually confirmed by the NIO owner of 23 NIOs, he told me that NIO is planning to cut off the 5 and 6 series vehicles. So the ET5, ET5T, ES6, and EC6 will be canceled on the third gen vehicles, third gen NT 3.0 vehicles. And instead, they'll be focusing on the 7, the 8, and the 9, with the ET9 already out. And NIO brand will be focused on those vehicles, whereas the cheaper vehicles will be on the Alps sub-brand nicknamed Envo, all right? Rumored to be called Envo. Let's have a listen, all right?
So at NIO, this brand, regarding the success of cars, we will actually increase the pricing and positioning a bit. In this way, the distance between it and our products will expand a bit. It would be more difficult to beat ourselves. This would make our strategy a bit more precise.
This is a very interesting strategy, and it could make or break NIO because right now, currently, the best-selling vehicles are the three vehicles that are potentially going to get axed. The ES6 best-selling, the EC6 and the ET5T, those three vehicles are the best-selling vehicles. And I know a lot of you guys might want the ET5 and then maybe some of the NT 3.0 tech pushed down to the ET5. That would be absolutely fantastic. But apparently that car and the ES6 and EC6 will be moved into the sub-brand to add more differentiation between the main brand and the sub-brand. How is that going to impact NIO sales? I think NIO sales will absolutely explode with the sub-brand, yes. But I think they're making a terrible mistake by moving the 5566 over to the sub-brand. A lot of people use that as their entry into the NIO brand for the NIO ecosystem, NIO life, NIO service, all these good things. And it's a sort of not exactly affordable, but the cheapest way, all right, 300K, still not cheap, but the cheapest way relatively to get into the NIO ecosystem. And if NIO were to completely move that into sub-brand and future NIO owners can only buy the 7 series and above more expensive vehicles to buy into the NIO brand, I mean, that of course, this is of course going to elevate the NIO brand, but that just means that there will be less people able to afford the NIO brand and more people buying the sub-brand, which I guess isn't really a terrible thing, but it really depends on brand positioning, brand awareness. Do people accept the Envo brand, or is it going to be a total flop? Now, make no mistake, they're going to continue selling the current vehicles that they have for many years, all right? For the next 2 to 3 years, probably continue, at least the next 2 years, they're going to continue selling the vehicles that they have now. But future releases of NT 3.0 vehicles after the ET9 is probably all going to be the 7 series and above, and we're not going to see 6 series and below. And those cars are going to be reserved for the sub-brand. And we're going to see the first sub-brand car, all right? Sub-brand CEO said the sub-brand brand announcement is in Q2. So very soon, we're going to see the sub-brand brand announcement. And then the car will debut in Q3. So actually a lot later than we all hoped for. We all thought that it was going to come in May, perhaps. And that would be a very good thing. But their strategy is to let people undercut each other, cut prices, and then see where things land, where people end up cutting the prices of the car to. The very bottom line, the cheapest that the competitors can place their cars at before, maybe they might even be losing money, but before it's just absolutely unsustainable. And NIO's going to come in with their car which Neo CEO said has 10% cheaper bill of materials than the Model Y. It's basically a Model Y that can do battery swap and completely flipped the table. Neo CEO has said this himself, flipped the table and just really undercut everybody in terms of specs, in terms of price, and in terms of just everything. And that's going to be a big success and sell well, and then slowly move the price up. So they're going to have that car, right, the first car, which has been already ready since Q4 of 2022, which I think is quite dumb that they've had it ready for all this time but not launching it. I guess they just want to see where the price war ends up at. But I mean, if you're going to hold it off, is the technology in the car going to get outdated? Who knows? We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't get outdated. But after that car, they have another SUV coming up, a bigger, larger SUV. So that's going to be probably more traditional because the first Alps sub-brand car is a SUV coupe, sort of like the Model Y. But then the next car will be more expensive, a larger SUV, sort of like a traditional SUV, and that's coming out in 2025 as well, being launched in 2025. And then afterwards, we might see a third SUV, and that's going to be unknown for now. But on top of that, 2025, we're also going to see NIO still deliver the current vehicles, but I think by 2026, 2025, they're starting deliveries of ET9, and then onwards, I think from 2026, that's when you're going to see the newer 3.0 generation vehicles, apart from the ET9, probably like the third gen, maybe I'm thinking like the SUVs probably, maybe like third gen ES8, third gen ES7, third gen EC7, those vehicles with those hydraulic suspensions. That's going to be pretty amazing. So from 2026, that's when you're going to see all those vehicles start being delivered, and then slowly, gradually, the 5566 will be shifted into the sub-brand. So the sub-brand, right now they've planned 3 vehicles, but it seems like very soon, later on, those cars going to be pushed into the sub-brand. So they might have a lot more cars in the sub-brand, a lot more mass market cars. And I guess this is a very good thing because that really means that it's just more like a traditional auto company selling cars, and then you can do whatever you want. You can battery swap, but you're by yourself now. Whereas with NIO, there's all this ecosystem stuff, NIO houses, NIO house rent, NIO house activities. You got to service them. You got to have very good service. All of these things are expenses, all right? So it does make sense making NIO brand more premium and sub-brand really just mass market, and also include the 300k RMB-ish territory. So that just really does make sense. So overall, gradually starting 2025 and 2026, you're going to see the 5566 being phased out into the sub-brand. They're going to increase the average selling price of NIOs. The cheapest NIO you can get is definitely not going to be the ET5. It's probably going to be like EC7, ES7, those type of vehicles. And then sub-brand will actually take over the 5566 essentially. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, stay safe, stay healthy. Peace out.